30 Rules of Successful Parents Who Raised Great Children. Dear parents, have you ever thought what are the main rules to raise great children? Think no more. Being a teacher myself, I got together with my successful friends and created this complete guide to assist you in raising great children. When my children were little, I read many books on parenting and attended different training courses. Not everything that I learned there worked with my children. I raised 3 children, and I want to share with you lessons from my experience and experiences of my successful friends. These are the main rules that helped us to raise great children. I am fortunate to say that all of my friends were excellent parents and all of them were able to raise successful children. By being successful, I mean that none of them ended up on drugs, alcohol, or in jail, homeless. Many of them have leadership positions and work for large companies or have their own businesses. What was the key to our success? Would you like to know? Since there are many rules, I have made a series of videos to help you in your task. This way you can watch one video a day and take your notes. Hold on to your seats because now I'm going to share with you all the main secrets of successful parents. Rule number 1. Both parents must support each other, reinforcing the training of the children. You and your husband should be on the same page about the way you train your children. This is something that you can discuss with your husband, future husband, before you get married. Because if you hope to find mutual ground in raising your children after you marry, you may end up with a huge problem that can lead to the divorce. A good example of such an issue is the broken marriage of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. One of the biggest reasons they divorced, at least that was publicly announced, was that they had different beliefs in raising their children. So make sure you and your future husband are on the same page in raising your future children. Summary: both parents must support each other, reinforcing the training of the children. Rule number 2. Your family is your number 1 priority. Set the right priorities. Love your family first. Teach your children to love their family. And you as parents should be a good example. Sadly, in some families, and especially very religious families, priorities may get upside down. And some parents, instead of prioritizing their family, would prioritize their activities in church or different ministries. Some parents can prioritize their work or their social activities over their family and children. Some very religious parents even prioritize support and love of other children over support and love of their own children. Nothing is wrong to love other children. However, please remember to love your children and your family first. So, love your family and love your children first. Provide for your family and your children's needs first. Summary: your family and your children should be your number 1 priority because this is what matters. Rule number 3. Every child needs to start learning leadership skills before they go to school. You may say, my child is quite introverted, phlegmatic, and will not become a leader. I will tell you, it depends. Even if your child will not become a leader, having a set of leadership skills will help your child to navigate at school and in life more easily. Tell me, wouldn't it be great if your child would possess a set of leadership skills? You can teach your child yourself or come to my consultations and I can help your child develop leadership skills before they go to school. What are the main leadership skills that can make the life and future career of your child much easier? Self-confidence, ability to focus, stage presence, assertiveness, initiative, communication skills, develop their own uniqueness, have their own opinion, develop critical thinking, emotional intelligence, storytelling skills, discussion and debating skills. I reiterate, every child should possess these skills before they go to school. It would definitely help them in their studies as well as with communication with their peers and teachers. Summary: every child with any temperament type can learn basic leadership skills before they go to school, because this will make their life much easier. Rule number 4. Teach your children several languages. And this is especially important if your family speaks 2 languages or more. When a child is little, they can learn languages easily and so fast. Once they learn 2, they can readily learn 3. It doesn't matter what they do later in life. Knowing several languages becomes a valuable asset. This will help them in the job market, where they will get paid more for speaking 2 or 3 languages. Recently, I learned from my son, who's in the Navy, that even in the military, if you speak more than 1 language fluently, you get paid more. Summary: teach your children several languages because their life will be easier and their earning ability will be higher. Rule number 5. Restrict your children from overusing iPhones and iPads. It's convenient for you to give your children a device and have your free time for yourself. But what would you gain at the end? When my children were little, they got their first device when they were in high school. One of my sons, who is in pre-medical school now, would always be interested in science. He would lay on the bed with science colorful encyclopedias, read exciting stories about discoveries, and answer the questions that were at the end of each story, and do simple experiments at home. No, he didn't burn down the house, even though a few times he was very close to it. Because he read so many books, he developed very good critical thinking skills. Now that children are mainly using computers, iPhones or iPads, they stopped learning to think because Google has all answers for them. It's a good idea to limit them using their electronic devices and instead get them involved in other fun activities where they can learn to think critically. For example, you can take them to the library, where they can get involved in different fun events and classes for children of different ages. Summary: don't let your children overuse iPhones and iPads. Ask them to read quality books or listen to audiobooks while they are in the car with you, because you don't want iPhones and iPads to control your child. Rule number 6. Teach your children critical thinking. Teach them to develop their own opinion on things. Teach them to oppose anything they hear. Teach them to ask right questions before agreeing with the statements. For example, you show an image of a butterfly to your child and ask, "Do you like butterflies?" Your child will say, "Yes, Mommy, I like butterflies." Then you ask, "Why do you like butterflies?" Your child may say, "Because they are beautiful and they fly." Then you ask, "What do you think makes butterflies fly?" By asking your children the right questions, you teach them to think critically and help them to develop their cognitive skills. Summary: teach your children critical thinking by asking them the right questions, because it will lead to developing judgment, evaluation, and problem-solving abilities. Rule number 7. Be an achiever. Be an achiever. You start it, you finish it. From an early age, teach your child that once they start something, it's absolutely important to let your child understand that the task must be completed, and give them a reward for its completion. For a smaller task, you can give them a nice sticker. For a bigger task, you can give them a bigger reward. This is a very important quality for developing the character of a leader, and will help them all the way along in their life and career. Summary: train your child to be an achiever. You start it, you finish it. Rule number 8. Don't let them see your anger, and instead show them disappointment. This rule is very difficult to implement, especially when you become a temporary stay-at-home mom and are staying with your children 24/7. If you have 3 or more children, this can even become a more difficult task. If you are choleric and one of your children is phlegmatic, this makes the situation even more challenging. And that's why, in my opinion and my successful friends' opinion, it's good to have children after the age of 30. Because the older you become, your emotional intelligence becomes more sophisticated. You gain more life experience, and it's easy for you to control your negative emotions, such as anger. What should parents do if they feel angry about the actions of their children? I would say that for mothers it's easier to control their anger than for fathers, due to their physiological and psychological differences. Personally, I would use sensory toys for myself. My favorite choice is sensory bubbles. When you watch it for a few minutes, how those colorful bubbles smoothly fall down, it brings you to a trance and at the same time calms you down. Use deep breathing techniques, or if you are able to stay outside for at least a few seconds, it would help a lot. The fresh air will help you to bring your anger down. Of course, you don't want to go outside during the summer if you live in Arizona. Evaluate the level of your anger. Ask yourself, how angry I am. On a scale out of 10, is this 5 or maybe 3? When you do that, it will become easier for you to control and manage your anger. Did you know that according to a Harvard-trained and published neuroanatomist, Dr. Jill Taylor, Your anger should only last for 90 seconds. So, give yourself 90 seconds to cool off the peak of your anger. If the action of your child that evokes anger in you is something serious, then perhaps you wait until your husband will get back home and you both peacefully decide how to manage the situation without anger and physical punishment. When you are talking with your child, break down the situation in segments. Analyze the situation and find the real reason that is behind your child's action. And when you talk to your child, ask your child to imagine as it would be a different imaginary child. Put this imaginary child on a separate chair and ask your child to ask that imaginary child what he has done, why he did it, and will he want to do that again. With this separation technique, it would be much easier for your child to answer questions. Why really do you think you did it? How does it make you feel? Will you want to do that again? Give your child constructive suggestions. What should they consider to be done to avoid this issue in the future? If you have an aggressive husband, then you have to carefully weigh each word when you introduce the issue to your husband. Or perhaps if the situation is not serious and you can manage it yourself. Summary: don't let your children see your anger and instead show them your disappointment, because it can create difficulties with trust and future communication with your child. Rule number 9. Good manners and right conduct. And this is the rule number 1 for my friend who is an elementary school teacher in public school. Teach your children good manners and right conduct as soon as they can walk. Explain to them how they should behave. Show them when they're visiting another house how to ask permission with respect, how to be helpful to others. Summary: teach your children good manners and right conduct, because this is an essential rule for effective interaction with other people. Rule number 10. Don't give your child everything on a golden plate. Don't give your child everything on a golden plate. Let them earn it, even the small things. When my children were little, I had a special weekly chart where I would list all of the chores for each child, and at the end of the day, they would get their reward, a nice sticker. They loved it. It motivated them to compete with each other and do their best to get a nice sticker at the end of the day. That is a great reward for little children. The chart can include simple chores such as making their bed, eating all their food, taking their nap cheerfully, to stay quiet when anyone is on the phone, touch only things that are theirs, to help someone today, put away their toys before going to sleep, closing their eyes during prayer, singing cheerfully at worship. Then at the end of the week, each child would receive a bigger reward according to the number of stickers they earned during the week. What kind of reward can you give them? It can be something you can come up with individually. Believe me, it was a big motivation for my children and my friends' children to do their best. Summary: don't give your child everything on a golden plate. Let them earn it, because only this way they will learn to appreciate things. Rule number 11. Be there for your children. When there is a need for you to support them at school with their little league team or among their friends, let them know and stand up for them. Don't teach them to be weaklings and take things silently, because this can lead to depression and even have suicidal thoughts. By saying that, I mean that when your children face a difficult situation, or you know that someone is accusing them falsely, be there for them. Listen to their story, then go to school, talk to the teacher, find more details, and get things right. I will always remember that in one private school, one teacher falsely accused one of my sons only because she personally didn't like him. It took several meetings to get things right. Summary: don't easily believe your children's accusers. You know your children best. Be there for your children and get things right, because this is what good parents should do. Rule number 12. Choose friends where they can benefit from each other. Remember the saying, tell me who your friend and I will tell you who you are. And this is 100% true. I remember when I was a child, my grandmother, who was a teacher and was from educated noble family, used to say me, choose your friends among those children who come from a good family, who have both parents, those children who are at the top of the class. I listened my grandmother. I was always friends with children who had those qualities, and I even was friends with children who were older than me, because they were smarter than me, and I could learn something new from them. In return, I would give my friends all of my attention. I loved listening to them, and I always would compliment them. They loved it, and our friendship was mutually beneficial. Later in life, it became a habit for me that I am carrying to these days. Summary: choose those friends who are smarter than you, who have the skills you don't have. Rule number 13. Support your children to develop their talents. If you know that each child is talented in something, do what you can to help your children to develop their talents. For example, if your child likes to sing, take them to singing lessons. If your child likes science, take your child to the fun science program at your local park district. Take them to the museums, theaters, festivals, exhibits, different competitions for kids where they can learn and at the same time enjoy new things and new people. Your children will say thank you at the end for the wonderful memories and skills that they gained because of your initiative to expand their imaginary world and intellectual boundaries. Summary: support your children to develop their talents, and they will be thankful to you for doing that. Rule number 14. Teach your children to show respect for people, their possessions, and the environment. When I drive, sometimes I see a lot of garbage on the side of the roads. I think that the reason people throw away garbage on the road is that their parents did not teach them to care for their country and their environment. My children never would do that, because when they were little, my husband and I taught them to care for this great country, the environment, and to do their part to keep it clean. It's your responsibility as a parent to teach your child to respect you, their parents, grandmother and grandfather, their brothers and sisters, their teachers, friends, and other people they interact with. For example, when you go with your children to the store and someone asks them about something, they should be able to give a respectful and polite response. As little children, they should learn to respect their property and take good care of their clothes, shoes, toys, bicycles, electronics. How often on the way home I can see in the late evening a bicycle dropped on the sidewalk while the neighbor's kids are at home. Normally, children should know when the game is over that they have to bring their bicycle and other toys home, and at least leave the bicycle on their driveway if they can't open the garage. How do you teach your children don't take things that do not belong to them? You can start with 10 commandments. For example, don't steal. A while ago, when I used to go with my children to the children's stores, I could see instead of 4 little toys in the box would be only 3, and 1 was missing. Guess where those kids may end up in 10 years if they will not change their very bad habits and their parents will not reinforce them. You can say your child the following: don't take things quietly from the store into your pocket, because good children don't do that. All stores have cameras and they see all you do in store. If you do that, the police will come, take you away from me, and will put you in jail. Summary: teach your children to show respect for people, their possessions, and the environment, because this is the right things to do. Rule number 15. Teach your children to learn something new every day. This is your responsibility as a parent to inject this valuable habit into your children. They should be curious about things all the time. Don't let them get bored and sit all day with iPhone or iPad. When you have a day off, take them to museums, theaters, festivals, fairs. Enroll them in different activity classes at your local park district, where they can learn to do new things together with other children. When my children were little, we were members and frequent visitors at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. This is how one of my sons got a passion for science. We were members at the Art Institute of Chicago, where you can teach your children fine art and sculpture. Take them to festivals like Ravinia Festival, where they can listen to fine music and best performers while seated on the grass and looking at the stars. You got it. Summary: teach your children to learn something new every day, because it makes them smarter and forms new neuron connections in the brain. Rule number 16. Try not to threaten your children. Instead, teach them about consequences for actions. Threats affect relationships with your child, decrease motivation and empathy, and affect trust and communication with your child. Often, we do things for others because it makes us feel good, and your children naturally want to please you. Over time, threats may affect trustful relationships with your child. It may lead children to resentment. As humans, we tend to dislike people who punish us. Each situation is unique, and you have to craft your own approach for every situation. For example, if you live in a house that is next to the road, then you should be very firm when you are explaining to your child about consequences of crossing a busy road on a red light. You and your child are waiting for a green light to cross the road, and all of a sudden your child pulls from your hand and starts running on the red light. What would you do? Give a lecture about danger of going on a red light? Of course not. You as soon as possible will grab your child from the road and get a better grip while holding your child's hand. If you right away start yelling and screaming at your child that you will spank him at home, that he is stupid, it will not help them to learn. What should you be doing instead? Instead, you teach your child about the consequences of their actions. Over and over again, you have to explain to your child about consequences of what could happen if they will run on the road at the red light. A car may hit them, they may be in a lot of pain, in the hospital, and for a long time will not be able to play outside again. Of course, when your child is little, it's your responsibility to watch your child at all times and don't leave your little child to play outside without your supervision. As your child grows, then they more consciously understand the danger of going on a busy road to catch the ball or cross the road on a red light. Read a book with nice pictures or show a short documentary where your child can see what happened to those children who didn't listen to their parents. It's good to know that little children are more visual and will learn faster from watching a short movie on this subject rather than listen to your long lectures about the dangers of going onto the road. I would say use both approaches. It takes 21 days to form a habit for an adult, and it may take much longer for a little child to understand why it's so dangerous to do such things. And this is another example. What should you do if your children don't like to do their homework? It's not life-threatening. If you threaten your child, it will not solve the problem. Instead, find the real reason behind that. Take a different approach. There is no short-term danger if your child doesn't do the homework. However, there are long-term negative consequences if it becomes a bad habit. In this situation, you take your time and do the homework with your child. Meanwhile, find the real reason why they don't want to do the homework. Do they not like the teacher? Do they have a negative memory from being in that class? Or do their peers copy from them? When you know all the answers, then you decide on how you are going to resolve this issue. Summary: try not to threaten your children. Instead, teach them about consequences for actions and find the real reason behind that. Rule number 17. Give your child time and attention every day while they are at home with you. Give your child genuine attention and your time while they are at home with you. Because when they are gone, it will be too late to do that. And all you will have are your good memories and disappointing memories, where you could have done better as a mother and a father, and you didn't. If you are a working mother and you return late from your work, it doesn't matter how tired you are. Over all your priorities, give attention to your children first, because everything else can wait. Give your children time and attention every day, even if this would be just a few minutes, because this is the most important thing for you to do as a mother and a father. Rule number 18. Try to not to quarrel, argue or fight in front of your children. It never will do anyone any good and can affect them emotionally until the rest of their life. And later in life, they subconsciously will mirror the behavior of their parents because they will think that this is normal and part of the marriage process. I was lucky as I grew in a perfect environment, raised by my grandmother and grandfather. I never, yes, you heard it right, never heard or saw them fighting. My grandmother was from a noble family and she never showed her negative emotions in front of me. This was the way she was raised. She had perfect control of her emotions at all times. My grandfather and grandmother were teachers. They taught deaf children to speak and they knew sign language. If they wanted to discuss in front of me something that I was not supposed to hear, they just used sign language. And I never saw them being angry at each other. This was also a very clever way to survive living in Russia at that time. Summary: try not to quarrel, argue, or fight in front of your children. Rule number 19. What to do if your child is a bully? As one of my friends suggests, if your child is a bully, has a big ego, makes excuses, lazy about chores, a know-it-all, abusive to their mother, shows prejudice, and unmotivated, cut it short and now. And I fully agree with this. Summary: what to do if your child is a bully? Cut it short and now, because later it can be too late to do that. Rule number 20. Don't gossip or tear others down in front of your children. Don't gossip or tear others down in front of your children, since that will readily backfire. You as parents should not gossip or tear others down in front of your children. Simply, this is not a good thing to do because your children may lose trust and respect in you as a parent. And when your children become adults, most likely they will gossip too. At school, bullies using gossiping as a way to humiliate and put their peers down. Not only does gossiping shows bad manners, but it also damages children-parents relationships. And this is especially important to be aware of for families who came to America from different cultures and have that habit in their cultural background. Summary: don't gossip in front of your children, since that will readily backfire. Rule number 21. Show interest in your children's interests. How do your children get introduced to different activities that later they can be interested in? You are the person who introduces your children to things that you think they may like and enjoy. When they are little and you have more control over your children, create interests in your children that can benefit them in their future life. When my children were little, my husband and I created and supported their interests. For example, we took them on a tour to a local YMCA, showed them all the classes and activities. And my children said that they wanted to learn to swim. We enrolled them in swimming classes. They liked to see how things work, and we became members at the Museum of Science and Industry. They liked this museum so much, and so the parents. They liked to travel, and we would take them to different places. We even would take them to the Symphony Center in Chicago, where they listen to classical music. We would take them to the Ravinia Festival. And now, when one of my sons is in pre-medical school, when he is preparing for his tests, he likes to listen to classical music because it helps him better remember things he has to learn. My two sons like to read books, and a few times a week I would take them to the library. And once a month we would buy new books for them. Even now, when the world is penetrated with various electronic devices, it's your responsibility to create interest in things other than iPhones and iPads. Limit their time with devices and instead take them to places where they can interact with other children, can learn new things, have fun, and can advance their communication skills. Summary: show interest in your children's interests and create new exciting interests where your children can communicate with other children and have fun activities that will help them bond with you, their parents. Rule number 22. Instill discipline from an early age. Teach your children the value of time, the value of money, the value of love, and the value of time management. Make a daily simple schedule with them so that they can follow it through. This will keep them busy, organized, and help to have stable and predictable behavior. Every day, reinforce with your children the same behavioral rules. They have to have a good understanding of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Summary: teach your children discipline from an early age, because when it becomes a good habit, it will accelerate their achievements in the future. Rule number 23. Read children's stories at bedtime. Before they go to bed, dedicate 20 minutes of your time to your children and read the children's stories. Talk to them, ask them questions, or ask your husband to do that. They will remember it for the rest of their lives. It will make them calm and happy, and they will fall asleep fast. Never talk about negative things with your children before they go to sleep. Be calm and positive, and your mood will immediately be transferred to your children. Summary: read children's stories at bedtime because it will make them calm and happy, and they will fall asleep fast. Rule number 24. Be consistent with each child in the same way. This is also a very important rule, and as a mother I can say this is one of the hardest rules to implement, because each child is different, has a different character, a different temperament type, and you have a different emotional involvement with each child. How do you be consistent? This is how. Have both parents involved with the upbringing of your children. For example, ask each child to do their homework at a specific time, to put away their clothes in a certain way. A consistent approach to discipline helps put children in control of their behavior. One of my friends shared with me that his wife was very diligent in all aspects of the children's lives, and he, as a father, when he had his days off, was in charge of time planning and the entertainment for the children on weekends, and they were consistent in their activities with their children. Summary: be consistent with each child in the same way. Rule number 25. Listen to your child. Genuinely listen to your child. They have wonderful insights even at a very young age. They will trust you, love you, and will possess the same habit when they will have their own family and children. Summary: genuinely listen to your child, because it strengthens your bond with your child, creates trust, and will help you more understand your child. Rule number 26. Play with your children on a regular basis. Find time and play with your children every day, including weekends. Find games that will be fun to play for them and for you. When my children were little, I would take them to the park and play with them over there. Instead of passively sitting on the bench with boring face and watching them playing, I would go and play with them as if I was a child. When they slide from this children's slide, I would do the same. They were so happy to see me doing that. You can go bicycling together. It's fun for all family. Bicycling is our good family tradition. Chess is excellent to develop analytical and critical thinking skills in your children. Limit usage of their electronic devices. Instead, do fun physical activities with them. Summary: play with your children on a regular basis and do different physical activities to keep them physically active. Rule number 27. Show them your love and kindness every day. Don't feel shame to hug and kiss your high school children. Give them hugs and kisses every day until they leave home, because it will help them to feel that you really love them, will give them an extra boost of confidence, and even will strengthen their immune system. Long ago, I knew a person who was going through a divorce. According to him, his wife never would give a hug to their 4 children. That wasn't right. Summary: every day show love and kindness to your children, because this is the most important thing to do. Rule number 28. Have your children after you are 30 years old. I think the best age to have children is after 30, simply because by this time future parents are able to graduate from college and establish their career, and as a result they will be able to raise children more responsibly with less rush and stress, and are better off financially. According to the National Center for Health Statistics 2016, saw a higher birth rate for women aged 30-34 than for women aged 25 to 29. Summary: have your children after you are 30 years old, because you have more conscious responsibility and are better off financially. Rule number 29. Have at least one meal a day together with your child. When you have your entire family at one table, it is the best time when you can talk, share news, teach your children life lessons, and have a fun time together. Summary: have at least one meal together with your children, because this is what matters and brings you together. Rule number 30. Insist on higher education. When I was a 6-year-old child, my grandmother was a teacher. She, along with my grandfather, would decide who I would become: a doctor or a musician. Because my math wasn't that good and I would feel horrible when I saw blood, she told me that I will be a musician and a music school teacher. She planted that seed in my head, and it grew over the years. Of course, I had initial musical talent. I had a great voice, long fingers, passion to play piano, and I played piano very well. I had a goal, and I worked hard toward this goal and never questioned it. I liked music, and my grandmother was a wise lady. Education is a huge and crucial thing that determines what direction your children will take in life. This is really a very big subject, and I will go into more detail in my other videos. Right now, I want to help you to clarify important decisions you have to make on education for your children. Who is their first teacher? It's you, mother, and the father. And I would say mainly the mother, because mother spends more time with children than a father. Before they go to school, you, the mother, are the main educator for your children. Have you ever thought of it? You set their values and main principles in early childhood. You teach them what is good and what is not. You read books with them, you watch movies together, you walk and play with them every day. And when they get to school age, you have a big decision to make. What school would you want your children to go to? Would it be a homeschool, private school, or public school? Based on your moral values, your teaching capabilities, and financial situation, you will have to choose the right school for your children. If you think that you will be able to teach them at homeschool, if you have a teacher's degree in your pocket and regulations in your state allow you to do that, then go for it. Because definitely among other bonuses, your children will get a safe environment, 100% of your personal attention, and the best encouragement and support. I taught my children at homeschool until the oldest son was in 7th grade and the youngest son in 5th. If you feel that homeschooling is too much for you, then you still have two choices: private school versus public school. I want to be honest with you. All parents who are able to pay for their children's education will put them to private school. My children went to private school after the homeschool. Among other kids studying there was the son of one of our Illinois congressmen. Business owners, politicians, doctors, all people who are able to pay will put their kids into a private school. This is the fact. Why? Because they understand the differences. If you feel that private school is too expensive for you and you are a single mother raising your children alone, then you have to research and find a good public school. In small towns, there are better chances to find a decent public school with good programs. If you are living in a big city, you may consider putting your child in a public school that is located in suburbs. It may be inconvenient for you to drive your child to school in the early morning, but in the future, your efforts would definitely pay you back. I would suggest you talk with your children about their future plans while they are in middle school. Together, you have to clarify what do they have passion for and what would be practical for them to study and be able to repay the college loan. Of course, since your children are little, you have to encourage them to get the best grades, because if they get a high score on their ACT test, there are high chances that they will get a partial or full scholarship. This is very important, and you have to mentally and academically prepare your children for that time. This way, when your children are out of high school, they will have a good understanding of what college they want to go to and what they want to study. and this will prevent them from frequently switching to different colleges and from not knowing what they really want to do in life. I have a good childhood friend. When her daughter was 12 years old, she put her in a special residential school for talented children that was in a big city, and she had to live in a dorm since she was 12. She had to take an entrance exam in order to get to that special school. One time my friend asked me, she said that her daughter is a very talented artist, and some of her paintings even won prizes at local competitions. My friend's concern was, how would her daughter survive with the job of an artist? She asked me for advice. I knew that my friend's father had died because of dental complications after a procedure. And I said to my friend, you know, I understand your concern. The chances that your daughter will become a big artist and make a good living of it is 1 out of 100. Why wouldn't she become a good dentist instead? Her daughter was an outstanding student. She had excellent grades in all subjects, including math and chemistry. My friend listened to my advice. Now, 15 years later, her daughter is the top dentist in the country and also enjoying teaching international students at the dental school. She is making a good living and she likes what she is doing. She feels happy and accomplished. One way or another, always insist on higher education for your children, because we live in a time when multi-skilled professionals, good leaders are needed that would be in charge of all these robots and technologies. Skillful professionals are always in high demand. And whatever route your children would take in their lives, to have a practical degree in their pocket is always a great asset. While your child is in college, they learn different skills, make important connections that they can use in the future. Summary: insist on the higher education of your children, because there they learn different skills, make important connections that they can use in the future. And of course, come to my consultations and I will work with your child so that they become confident and successful citizens.